Okay, let's continue. Now, we have to learn what an attribute is and how we can use an attribute in the things in which we do. Now, when you have a HTML tag, for example, if I have the P tag, okay, or I have the input tag. So if I have the P tag or the input tag, these tags by themselves give a particular definition. What definition do they give? The P tag is for paragraph. The input tag is allow me to input a particular form elements into my computer. So the moment the computer browser sees these two things, immediately you know what to do. You know that, oh, it's a P tag, so you mean that he's writing a paragraph. Oh, it's an input tag, so he is doing a form. That makes sense. But there are certain things in which we would want to add to it. For example, with the P tag, the input tag, we would like to tell the computer what type of inputs in which I am trying to enter. For example, I'll be trying to enter numbers, so I want a numerical field, or I'm trying to enter colors, so I want a color coded field, or I want to enter a date, so I want a date formatted field. Whatever I want, the type there will allow the computer to know what type of input in which I want. So again, the input tag by itself tells the computer he is going to do an input there. As to what type of input, it is this keyword here which will help us define what type of input it is. So this keyword here is an example of an attribute. Attributes give more meaning to our tags. Attributes allow us to give or present our tags with more meaning. So for example, with the P tag, I can give it the attribute of style and say the style should be equal to color. Red. And that means that all the coloration of the inputs that are within the P tag are going to be what? Red. So this attribute allows me to change the what? The color of my. Now, the word attribute, as I said, allow us to give more meaning to our what? Tag. But there are some attributes which are very important to us today. The first one is the ID attribute. So you bring ID equal to and two quotes. And the second one is the class attribute. So you bring class and then that. Now, the ID and the class attribute are two things in which we need to know by heart. We need to know what they are for, how they are used, and how we can refer to them anytime we want. So I'll start with the ID. What is the ID? The ID's job is to uniquely identify a tag. In your HTML page, you can have a number of tags there. If we are writing code in general, we can have a whole lot of tags, a whole lot of elements. For example, if I have something like this, let's see if we can get an example here. So this will not be good. This will not be good too. Great. So I have many of these will be fine. So I have this one here. Great. So over here, I have this page here. A nice restaurant page, allow people to go to the restaurant. sort out the meals they want, some nice movements, some nice pictures, some nice colors. Very nice page, right? Now, if I go straight to the top and then I right click on this page and go to view page source, I can immediately see all the code that was used to write this page. Now, in here, if I was to search for P, I can see that in this page alone, I have 44 P tags. If I was to come to you and say, make the P tag red, the next logical question you ask me is, which of the 44 P tags do I make what? Red. Now, the question is, how do I uniquely identify each of the 44 tags? And that is when I would use the word ID. So if I use the ID, I can uniquely identify each and every single tag in which I have. The ID can be used once because, like our names or our index numbers, two people cannot share the same index number. Each individual has to be provided with his own unique and distinct what? Index number. Are we clear? Are we all clear in the room here? Those online, are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If that's fine, then how will I know that in my code something is an ID? I will know something is an ID if that thing starts with the hash symbol. So for example, if I write hashtag body, it means that this is an ID called what? Body. So anything that starts with the hashtag means that that thing is a what? ID. Now, let's move to class. You see, I can uniquely identify individual things. And we are saying that me uniquely identifying individual things is an ID. But you guys here all belong to semester 3. So as a group, are you guys semester 3, right? Is semester 3? Okay. As a
Yes,
group,
yes, in semester 3.
okay, thank you. As a group, all of you are semester 3. So when I go to a room and I say, all the semester 3 people stand up, technically all of you are going to what? Stand up. Hence, I have uniquely identified the group. Each and every single one of you here is what? Semester 3. All of you have your ID, so I can uniquely identify you alone. But as a group, you are all what? Semester 3. So we use a class to uniquely identify a group. And we use an ID to uniquely identify an individual. For example, if you take the site in which I showed you over here, okay? The site I showed you, where is it? I close it. I think I closed it. So let's come back here. So this site in which I showed you here. If I scroll down and I get to this section here, we can see we have 1, 2, 3. Very nice. The moment you put your cursor there, it turns into what? Orange. The writings here and the writings here and the writings here and the way they look, they're all the same. The dimensions of the boxes are all the same. The colors in which pop up over here are all the same. So will I code one of each of them singularly? I will not do that. I will never do that because it's a waste of my time. So I will code one and the rest and give it a class name and replicate that class name for what? All of them. So if I change any color, if I go into the code, so right now I'm in the code, right? If I right click and I go to inspect to allow me to go to this window over here, there is a button over here called inspect an element. So I can click on that. And then I can scroll down to the section I was talking about. So where is it? I can't even find it. It should be here somewhere. Good, it's here. When I click on inspect and I put the cursor there, immediately, it tells me all the HTML tags and elements and CSSs that go with that. So I can click it. When I click it, it takes me directly to areas that it is affecting. So all of these places are affected in one way or the other. Now we can see that here I have class names. So immediately I put the back cursor on the box. Because it's a class name, all the things that go with that box are what? Lit up. Because the groups all have the same what? Name. Just the same way, when I come to the class and I say semester 3, all of you stand up. The moment I bring it to the class name here, all of them are what? Standing up. You can see that the colors here, all of them are highlighted, telling me that all of these things are affected by that word element. How do I know that the box over there is a class name? How do I know? I know it's a class name because just like the ID, in which everything that starts with a hash is an ID, anything that starts with a dot is a class. So if I had dot box, that means that this thing here is a class name that is being used inside my what? Code. So anything with a dot becomes a what? A class. So that's the first thing we need to learn today. That's the first piece of information in which we need to learn for the things we are going to do today. The next piece of information we need to learn for today is we need to learn what is CSS, or what does the word CSS mean? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Now, the word cascading over here refers to falling. If something is cascading, it's falling. When they tell you have cascaded down the staircase, it means you have really fell down. They are emphasizing the fall in which you fell down over the staircase. So they are telling you that it is trembling down. It's something trembling down, falling down. And they are styles. So technically, various designs that are falling down. And they are all grouped in sheets. Just like those of you who, when you were children, you were privileged enough to have tracing paper in your life. Because in Ghana, if your parents see you drawing, they will see that you have a useless life. So they will beat you before you even finish the drawing. But if you have ever played with tracing paper before, you realize that if you put a paper on top of an image and you draw, you can put another one and you can draw that one. And you can put another one and draw that one. And when you look at the top, it's as if you have drawn the what? Image. But if you take them away, you get the image back in how it looks. And that's exactly how this thing looks. we are going to put a style on top of another style on top of another style. And when all of them are combined together, they'll give you one beautiful word, style. So they are falling on top of each other. They are one, but they are grouped separately on top of what? Each other. And the key thing about CSS is that we are going to target elements. So the whole point of CSS is we are targeting various elements. We can target a tag. We can target an ID. We can target a class. Target. Sorry. We can target a combination of them. So we can target a combination of all of these three things here. That is the class, the tag, the class, and the ID. So a combination. Or we can target an attribute. Or we can target a function. So if I was to say target the body tag, that is this, body. All I have to do is just type what? Body. That's all. And I'm targeting the body tag. Was the P tag, I'll just type P. If it was the A tag, I'll just type P. Just A, not anything back. Then the computer immediately knows that, oh, that thing is. I'm going to target an ID. Then that means I have to bring what in front? The hash. So now if I type hash body, I'm not targeting the tag body. I'm targeting an ID of something that has what? Body there. If I was to bring in dot body, then it means that I am targeting a class. Note, I can tell the computer that when you go into the body tag, go and look for the ID body, and when you find the ID body, go and look for the class what? Body. And this piece of statement here should make a lot of sense to you because each one is what? Different. Your confusion should not be in the wording. Your confusion should just be in what is in front. If it's a long, it's a tag. So it means that in my code, I'll look for a tag called what? Body. Then I'll go and look for an ID called body. Then I'll look for a class called what? Body. And there is where my elements are going to target. Remember, we will be targeting each element, each thing which we want to do, we will be targeting. We can target an attribute. So in here, we can target a name or something like that. We see examples of that. And I said again, we can target an action, an action. So we can target, let's say, hover. For example, in the example I showed over here, when I bring my cursor on it, I am hovering over it. So when I hover over it, it should give me a orange overlay. When I'm not hovering over it, the overlay should what? Go away. So I can target the actions too. Exactly. Are we sure? Those online, are we okay?
Yes, sir, we are okay. We are following.
Okay. Then, if everything is fine, then we are going to see if we can write the code for this calculator. We are going to design it for it to look exactly like this, using the principles we learned today. So on my computer, I would go to my desktop. In there, I will open a new folder and I will call this folder Calculator. Wonderful. And I'll open it up. And then I'll right click and open in terminal. And then I'll just type in code dot. And with that, I will have my calculator folder opening up for me in VS Code. For those of you who do not use, Windows 11, it means you go through the same process, but your process would be a bit different. You would go to File, and then go to Open Folder, and browse to the desktop, click on Calculator, and then click Select File. Is that okay? We did that last week. So that's basically how we always be opening our files. Yep. It's possible, but it's not advisable. It is best that whenever you have a new project, you always open a folder and put them in. So you can create a folder called project, and then in there you put in all your working or something like that. Because in here, we will go to File, we will go to New File, right? And in here, we'll create index.html. So we'll create an index page for the calculator too. So in here, the first thing I will do is create the basic structure of the HTML page. The basic structure of every HTML page, as we saw last week, is your HTML tag, your head tag, in your head tag, you have your title tag, and then under your title tag, you have your body. Yeah. So over here, we have the basic structure of a HTML page. We can now start writing the code we want in this section here. The title of our page is going to be calculator. So over here, I have calculator as the title of my page, right? So those online, remember that this is the basic structure of the HTML page. Now we can start writing our code inside the body over here. The first thing I will do is I will do a division tag. A division tag will help me to divide my page into various sections. It is very important that we understand two things now. One, website development is not about developing the best looking site in the world. It really isn't. It's about conveying a message and making money. So if you realize in Ghana, someone will come, this website is not nice. Let's change it. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because you should only change your site if that site is not making as much money as it can to justify the cost of the changes. If there is no justification of cost, there is no need to change the site. Because once you change the look of the site itself is about content. And you realize that companies are always afraid of producing content. The whole year, the website, there's no workshop. It's in then our data site also. Nothing. It will look the same as how it looked previously. The site is there to convey a particular message. Sell a product, sell the company, market the product, market the brand, you bring people into the company, bring walk-ins in. That is the job of the site. If it doesn't do that, then you haven't done a proper site. And that is on the designer. Another thing too, if you want to convey a message, using this as an example, watch this section here, watch this section here. You realize there are different colors, right? Watch this section here, there's a different color. Your eyes are able to partition the various colors so that you can navigate what through. If everything was the same color, you think everything is the same. So you will not be able to what? Navigate through. Whenever you speak to people who program, they always tell you, do you want to do front end or back end? And half of them will say front end because the back end, there's some mathematics and things that people don't like. Yeah, but front end, there's a history. It doesn't work. Everybody's happy. But designing is more difficult than you think because the person who developed this will not be there. Whatever judgments you have, he will not know. He's supposed to think like you and make sure you and 100 million people can use it and use it very well. Well, and the best way that that is done is through division. So you can see that each section is divided. You can see that when we're doing the first class, every time I finish something, I make us draw a line under it. So the person knows that, oh, this is the end and this is the beginning of this section. This is the next one. Division is very, very important because our eyes see division and our eyes sees things which are wrong. So in a crowded room, there can be 100 things right, but if there's something wrong, that is what you will dwell upon. So the division helps us to divide the page. And we can divide the page using tables or using the div tag. Tables was what we used to do. And with that, because it's a table and it is rigid, you cannot do responsivity with your site. With the div tag, The div behaves like a malleable product. I think those of us in this room here are old enough for us to have met the penny pure water rubber, whereby you buy once 10 pesos, you drink like your Charlie. When the person is filling that rubber bag, they pour water in it, then they push it down and pour another one. And when you buy it, then you raise the top here, raise the top here, and you shake it around. It takes the shape of whatever you make it. And we use the division because it will take the shape of whatever we tell it to what take. And where does that come into play? When the person is using a mobile phone, the app will work. When the person stops using a mobile phone and then changes his or her view into a laptop mode, it will work. When the screen becomes smaller, it will conform and what? Work. The division will take the shape of whatever we tell it to take. The table will not. So you would use the division in our code. And again, it is malleable and it is transparent. So if I bring in the division tag here, and I go into my calculator on my desktop and I open it in my browser, I see nothing. It's not 8 because the division is not there. It's malleable. You can't see it. But whatever that is in it, we can shape it to take that word shape. Does that make sense? So again, if I right click here and I go to view source code, the computer tells me that I've done a division. It's here. It's there. The division is here. But again, this is transparent. So unless I tell you to make the borders of it seeable, it will be what? Seeable. So we will use the division in our code. And once we bring the division in, the next thing in which we have to do after that is create or tell the computer, sorry, that this division tag here is going to have an ID called calculator with a small c. In here, I have to start doing my patterns. I mean, the patterns I want for my calculator. So over here, I have pattern. And here to be pattern what? 7. I will cheat a bit. I will cheat a bit and do this. But I know I'll do plenty of the patterns and I can't be bothered doing them one part. So over here, I'll have 7, 8, 9, plus 4, 5, 6, minus 1, 2, 3. And then I will have star for times, C for clear. I will have 0 over here, 0 over here. Then after 0, I have my equal to sign. I have my divide sign. And then finally, I should have, yeah, the design sign is my last sign. So I have this. Wonderful. Juliet, Precious, are we okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay.
As you proceed, if you can explain the plus, why that is coming after the 9,
Okay.
then I'll be fine.
No problem.
So I see after every 3 figures, you put one of the signs there, and I don't know the principle behind it. So if you can explain that.
No problem. So, Julia,
Okay.
are you watching the screen? If you're watching the screen, this is what we have. 7, 8, 9 plus 4, 5, 6 minus 1, 2, 3.
Please, we are losing you.
You are losing me. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen. We couldn't hear you earlier, but it's fine now.
Okay. So on the screen, if you're following the map, right, you should see 7, 8, 9 plus 4, 5, 6 minus 1, 2, 3 star 2, 0 slash. So after every fourth line, we want the operator to be there. Can you see that? So that in our boxes we have it like this.
Please, we can't hear you.
Can't hear me. What is going on?
I think sometimes you move away from your microphone.
I move away from the mic. Is it clear now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yes, it's better now.
Okay. So I'm saying that on the screen, if you are watching, this is what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to achieve a calculator that looks like this. So you can see that the buttons they are arranged in a particular order. So we have 7, 8, 9 plus, and so on and so forth. So where we want them to be is where we have placed them in the code.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So if we check our code and we refresh our screen, we should see the buttons appearing like this. One long line, 7, 8, 9 plus 4, 5, 6 minus 1, 2, 3 star C0 equal to slash. It appears like this in one big line. This is how the lines appear.
Okay.
Let's go back to the code to use typing and type. Those things you have, please finish typing. Now, on our design again, let's look at our design very well. We can see that plus, minus, star, and slash. Can we see them? What color are they?
They are gold or yellow.
Is it gold? Okay. You can see it as orange.
More mustard than orange.
Whatever color it is. It's either gold or orange or brown. There is a color there. So whatever color that is there, what can we see that is distinct among them? All of them have the same color. So we can group all of them as what? One. That means all of them can have a class, since a class can be used to uniquely identify a group. So in our code, wherever we have the operator, we'll use the class name operator. So it means here we have an operator. Over here, we have another operator where we have the minus. So the minus will bring in a class operator over there. The star will bring in a class operator over there. And then the slash will bring in a class operator over there. So that anytime we say operator should have a color, all the things that have a class name operator will have the same word, color. And whilst we are here too, we can see that some other things also have a different color, like the equal to and the clear. Are we okay? So it means for the equal to, we'll bring in a class name equal to, And then for the Claire, we'll bring in a class name Claire. So here we have a class name that is equals or equal. Let's not add the S. Over here, we have the class name Claire. So now we can start to write the code for our application. We can start to write the CSS code for our application. Yeah. This is what we are going to do for this. So once we watch this page, based on the HTML structure that we have, our page looks like, where is this thing? It's supposed to be here. So our page looks like this. There's nothing fascinating about this, just the HTML. So now we're going to enhance it. So we have to tell the computer that we are coming to write CSS code. We have to inform the computer that this section of our code is going to be CSS. For this week, we'll do in text, in internal CSSs. Next week, we'll do external CSSs. Internal CSS means that the CSS is at the same location as our HTML code. But next week, we'll put the CSS in a different location and our HTML also in a different location. But inside the head tag, are we okay? I'm going to bring the style tag and then there. This style tags here tell the computer that I am coming to write CSS code in what I am doing. Please, is there a reason for not beginning the class names with uppercase? Yes, there's a reason for not beginning the class names with uppercase. If you do begin your class name with uppercase, there is no harm in that. It is completely fine. The only problem is that you must remember that you have begun it with an uppercase. And as silly as that sounds, it is a problem for those of us who code to remember the names in which we used to code. Even when you are remembering the name of people in your house, sometimes you suffer, say, Akwawe, Akwawe. So that time you are doing Akwawe, it is time you are taken away from your code. So if you are able to make sure or give yourself the ability that the dictionary for my code, everything in my code is going to be in camel case, is going to be in small letters, it makes it easier for you, the coder, to code. Now note, if you want to do it as capital letters, you can. But in experience, if you make a mistake, it takes you hours to find the correction. Again, the codes we are writing, you can see that we are writing everything here as of now, just the HTML, let's say it's like 27 codes, 28 codes. In real world, you are not writing 28 codes, you are writing like 2,000 or 20,000 codes. To be honest with you, sometimes the code you wrote in line 10, you have forgotten. Now and down, like, you have forgotten. Those of you who think you have to chew all of this in your head, you don't. You just have to remember, I want to do this. What do I have to use to do this? And then you use it. That's all. So remembering the names becomes very, very difficult, very, very difficult. So making sure you use the same case for your names or the same format helps you to keep track of what you are doing. And spelling mistakes at this stage when you are beginning is very, 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 it's something in which most of you will do a lot. Where you something like equals, then you add S, but in your CSS, you just write equal while the S, then your code will not be displaying how it should be displaying, those kind of things. So make sure you remember the name formats you use, easier for. So that is why we do that, the Walanyo, okay? So let's continue. So in here, I can write in my CSS code. The first code I'll write is an ID for calculator. And when I write my target, then I'll write my body, and I can write the code I want to target inside my body. So it means that I am right. This here is for this one here, the ID what? Calculator. So that is what I am targeting. Are we okay? Now, I am telling the calculator that it should display it as a grid. So I'll tell the computer that the display of this should be what? Grid. Now, I am also going to tell the computer that the grid, I hope you all know what a grid is, right? Yeah. So the grid should have a template of columns that repeat for every 4 columns. It should stop and move to a new row. I will save. Let's see what is happening to our code. Are we okay? So in our code, just a second, when I refresh this, we can see something has changed. What has changed? Everything we have here has been arranged as a what? Grid. And the computer will take the elements 1, 2, 3, 4, stop it, and move to a new what? Row. Can you see that? So as just typing those 2 things here has done that for us. Now, we are going to tell the computer that the things we have in the grid should have a gap between them of 10 pixels. So let's see if this is also going to take effect. Are we okay? So on my page again, I am here looking here at my page. When I refresh this, we can see that each of them is having the same gap of 10 pixels. Can we see that? Can we see that? Great. Please, when you do it, check what is going on. We are now learning. Normally, I'll just type everything and then go and click on it. But for each one, we should see the effect this is taking. Are we okay? We are also telling you that it should have a padding, that is the space between it and its boundaries of 20 pixels. So a padding of 20 pixels. It should also have a background color of white. White is hashtag F5, F5, F5. It should have a border of 1 radius of thickness, and it should be solid. So there shouldn't be line. It should be just 1 straight line. And then it should have a gray color. A gray color is hashtag CCC. Are we okay? Now, if I go and check my thing again with these things, we can see that there is a grayish color over here. Are we okay? And then we can see the line, the div, the line is now showing because we said the line should have a thickness. We said the line should be solid, and the line should be what? Green. You can see the line for the div tag. And we can see that between the div tag and then the first button we have, there's a gap there, which is 20 pixels. We said the padding should be what? 20. We did. Over here, we can see that the edges here, their lines are two boxes. No one likes boxes anymore. We want them to be curved a bit. So we are going to tell the computer again that the border radius should be 5 pixels thick. And by doing that, let's all watch what happens to our thing. We'll see that there will be a nice rounded edges around our container. Now that is the power of CSS. You can see that even without doing the CSS is designing everything like how we want. So your page becomes like, because your page will bring just small HTML, but the CSS will bring all the design. And the CSS file about that. So your page will open quickly. Unlike back in the day where it's like 2 seconds for the page to do the download. Now when the page is local, because what is bringing the payload very, very small. And the designs can be written as many as you want of the world. CSS. So we are done with the div tag. We have told the div tag to see this content as a break. The content should be arranged in force and then move to a new line. We said it should have a gap. We said that between it and then this border should be 20 pixels. It should be what? White. I think this type of white is offshore white or whatever. Those of you who like colors in it. And then the thickness of the border and stuff. You can, but don't, because when you put white there, it gives you generic white. You see, over here, this is the white I'm getting. This is the white I'm getting, right? The white I'm getting is a blend between gray and white. Can you see that? All colors are not the same. So if you, in practice, if you think you don't know the color, there is no shame in that because not all of us know colors. So you can always use these things here to scroll through to find the color in which you are what looking for. There are some scenarios too whereby you work for an organization whereby they want their local color to be in your website. The best thing you can do, and this is the best thing you can do, is this. Once you have your site, say I have this, right? Once I have this, I can use inspect, okay, to go and choose a particular color scheme that is there already. So for example, I can go and choose this one. And when I do that, I'll see the color there. Okay, so this is the color for what? Orange. Then I'll copy it. Or I can click in here and it brings me the dropper window, the eyedropper, for me to go through the site and look for the color in which I want. So you can see that here, when I bring it close, you can see all the color schemes that are there. The specific color I want, I can click. Like GCB, like this, their golden color is copyrighted. You can't just use it like that. GCB Bank, their color. There are companies who they copyright their color. They created the color, so they copyright it. So you will have to go and pick their color code. Other than that, anything you use will not be authentic, and then it means your site will be fake. Ivan, Seth, are we okay? Can we go on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now, the next thing we are going to target is the button. And before you go to watch the thing in the browser, always make sure you save it before you go and then refresh. So the next element I want to target is the button. And we can find the button inside the ID calculator. So hashtag calculator button. So again, it means that inside the ID field called calculator, there is a tag there called what? Button. So technically, I am targeting all the buttons in which I have in my watch code. Every single button here, because it is a tag, is being what? Targeted. Are we okay? Are we fine? Great. So now let's write the code for that. We are saying that the content of the button should have a padding of 10. So the padding of 10 pixels should be associated with everything that has to do with the button. What will this do to my code? When I refresh my code, all the buttons will have 10 on the top, 10 at the bottom, 10 here, 10 here, and the button will start to pop up and look like a nice button. I'm also saying that the font size of my button should be 18 pixels. I'm also saying that the text inside my button should all be aligned in the center. I'm also saying that the background color of my buttons should all be pure white, FFF. And that brings the question of why don't we just type white there? Because this is pure white. This is snow white. The other one was a grayish bit of white, or eggshell white or off-white. The borderline of my buttons should be 1 pixel thick, should be solid, and should be what? Gray. All my buttons should have a border radius, that is, the corners should be rounded for the buttons. So the dimension of corner rounding should be 3 pixels. Is that okay? So now let's see how it looks like. How does it look like? Remember, everything we do, we need to know how we affect that. So when I refresh the screen now, oh, okay. So now it is white. The writings are a bit seeable now. The corners are all rounded nicely for me. Can we see that? And then it looks a bit nice. Now, let's all watch the screen for a second. Let's watch the screen. Let's all watch the screen. When I put the cursor on top of the button, can you see that it still has that triangle feeling there, right? I want to change that. How it looks like now. I want to change that. So I want to tell the computer that the cursor should be a pointer. I will save and I'll go and refresh the page. Now, let's look at what happens again. Now, my mouse is like this, right? Can we see that? My mouse is like this. If I bring my mouse close to the button, look at what it turns into. Like a finger. So that the person knows that, oh, this one, I have to what? Click on it. It knows the difference between I am roaming around and I am coming to what? Click. So you can see that with experience, you start to see what can I use for my site? What can I use to bring my site to where I want it to? Are we okay? So I'm done with the button. Now I can move on to another element. Juliet, are we okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
All right. Deborah, what about you?
I'm good.
So over here, the next thing I want to target is the hashtag calculator. But this time, I'm going to target the dot operator. This means I am targeting a what? A class. Very good. And what class am I targeting specifically? Over here, I'm targeting what? This class. So I want the calculator up. I want the computer to give it a background color of orange. And I want the color, that is the font color of the writings should be pure white. That is FFF. So you can see that everything is going to remain the same, but when you come to the class operator, that one, you make the color what? The background color white. Background color orange. And then the writings of the fonts make them what? White. So once we do that, just letting you see what we will have. We will have this beautifully done. Orange for the buttons on the side. Are we okay? When you're done, you try to wash now the same thing. So it means that we have to do the same thing for the equals to and then the clear. Are we okay? Change the equal to red and then the clear to what? Green. So we will do this and this to them. So we have the equal to and the clear, the ones I've highlighted. Okay? Once we add these two pieces of code to our calculator will take the final form and look like this. You can see that the star sheets are falling each on top of each other. One after the other, different, but when you combine all of them, they give you the design you want. The next thing we are going to design today is this. We are going to design this window we have over here. So let's finish up with this one, and then we can start designing Black Friday deals and registration for people to log in to get into Black Friday deals. The students online, those who are trying, is there anyone who has a problem with their code or something that needs my attention? So that we can share the screen and then we can have a look at it. Okay, since we are all fine, or do we do the Black Friday deals today? Will we be able to finish? We start the Black Friday deals thing. Will we finish today? What do we do? Now, a question someone may be wondering was that with my calculator, or the calculator I showed you that is what we are going to be mimicking, right? The calculator program we are mimicking. On the screen, my calculator program, when I press 1, 2, 3, it shows. And if I do plus here, and I press 4 here and press equal to, tells me the correct answer. Why is mine showing the correct answer and yours is not? Another question is, why does mine come to the side here and yours takes the whole screen? Now, the answer to that is this, that with mine, I have JavaScript code as part of it. The next lesson we will do will be JavaScript. That means when we get there, we already have the design for the calculator. So we will continue and then write the code for the calculator to work, to be dynamic, to have input, to take variables, to do the changes it's supposed to do. For now, we are learning structure and what? Design. Then we'll slowly build from structure and design to interactivity. Then we'll move to database. Then we'll move to pushing the data into the database. So we are building up, but we can't get to the promised land if we don't pass through these levels. So we are building up small. Are we okay? Those online, are we good? Can we continue or you are tired?
Let's
You can
continue.
continue.
Okay. So we have Black Friday deals. We have this site that looks like this. So this is the site we want to replicate. We want to redo this site exactly like how it looks like on our screen. We want to achieve this. Looking at this, how can we achieve this? Yes. I'll explain that. You're not listening. I said that a question which may arise would be, the calculator program you have doesn't look like mine. Yours is just this section here, right? This input section here is derived and done using JavaScript. So we are not bringing JavaScript into the equation now. If we bring JavaScript into the equation now, some of you run away from
I'll
it.
get confused.
Some of you run away from them. Hey, call this. We don't want that. Relax. Because the JavaScript would come. And if you are looking at the screen, this is the JavaScript code I'm talking about. So you can see that we would use the JavaScript to create the input tag. And we will get here. Very soon we'll get here and we'll be doing all of these things. When you click the clear button, then it will clear. So you can see here that the code for clearing the button is here. So when I click clear, then it will go and work, clear, and all of those things. So we will learn all of these things, but don't worry, we will get there. But when we get there, we already have the design already. So all our job at that point will be to add the words, the codes to make it function. So we will get there, slowly. But for today, our job is design. Okay, so that answers that question. Let's come back to what I was showing you here. Then we are going to design this. No difference. Black Friday. How are we going to design this? With our eyes, we can see that this thing here, or with my eyes, I can see that this thing here is divided into two. We have Black Friday deals, and then we have this section over here, right? That means that I have two sections here. That means I have two what? Divs. That alone should tell me that. Over here, I have two sections here too. The top for messaging, and then the down here for the what? For. That means that over here, the div here, I should partition it into two different sections. What? Two. So now I must design the structure of it. So again, I'll go into my desktop. I'll create a new folder. I'll call that folder Black Friday. One word, no space, no space, no space. I will enter into it and I'll open my work in VS Code. By now, us opening work in VS Code should not be a problem for us. We should be able to open any work we want in VS Code. And then over here, I will create an index.html file. And then here, I can have my code in there. So, with the modern way of creating HTML, we use certain words to show division. The div tag is too a generic word. some certain words will allow you to show the division properly. For example, every page I will do, I will most definitely mean the basic structure of the HTML page. So that one, I can't run away from that. So I'll just quickly do that. So I'll just do this. In here, I'll do head. Inside the head, I'll do title. Yep. Doc type. Oh, that's the doc type. It tells the browser that this document is a HTML document. Okay? It forces it to treat the elements that are in there as HTML documents. Just don't bring the doc type. But once we start trying to put things online and stuff, we'll bring them. But if you don't bring them, it's not wrong. Over here, I'll have my body. Then I can start my work here. The div tag, are we okay? Instead of me writing div tag, I will write main. It does the same thing as the div tag. Are we okay? The same thing. And then I will have my two sections. So I have section 1 here and another section over here. So 2 sections. So as I showed in the beginning, 1 half, the other half. Are we okay? Now, the word section, the word main, the word section are all examples of div tags. The only difference is now we use generic words to give proper meaning to what we are doing. If I say div, or if I say section, so this is a section, this is another one, section. So that makes a bit more sense, literally. Here, I want to give it a class called intro. Over here, I want to give it a class called sign up. Your class names should never have spaces in them. Hence, I use what do you call this? A hyphen. Is it a hyphen? Is it a hyphen? A hyphen to separate the two. Okay. Now in here, what do I put there? Over here in the design, this thing here is big statement. Going to definitely be what? H1. Most important thing there. This thing here is the writings under it. It's going to be what? P tag. Are we okay? So when I come back here, I want H1 and I want a what? A P tag over here. The H1 tag is going to have a class name called title. And over here, I'll type in Black Friday deals. Then, of course, in the P tag, I can put in get up to 50% off and all the writings that come with it. I am done with that section. Move to the next section. Again, those online, if you have a problem, let me know. I'll allow you to share your screen. Then we can help you solve your problem. The key is your hands should be doing this as much as possible. If you can increase the rate you do this, you will see that you're becoming faster, getting more ideas, you'll be getting better. For the next section, that is the place of the class. In here, the top half here, that is the purple section here, where you have signed up to our newsletter, get 10% off your first purchase. That section there. We are going to use a P tag to do that section. So I have a P tag. And so that the computer will know that this P tag is different from the other P tag, this P tag gets a what? A class name called sign up paragraph. P paragraph. And that means inside here, I can put in the information I want, which is sign up to our newsletter and get a free 100% off. Of your first purchase. Or if I do, watch. You can see. Oh, yeah. The moment I save, it will bring everything to the correct format here. Using Prettier. But it's so that you guys can type. Everything is also being recorded. So after the class, I'll make it available in your. So now I have to do the form. If I want to do a form in HTML, I have to bring my form tag. So the form tag will tell the computer that I'm coming to do a form. my form is going to have a class name called sign up form. So inside my sign up form, I can now do the various things there, the various things I'm going to be signing up. So I'll have a div tag. My div tag is going to have a class name of form input. And then I can bring my input tag. In here, I'm going to have a type of text. I'm going to have the input having a name attribute of first hyphen name. I'm going to have an ID attribute of first hyphen name. I'm going to have a placeholder for my text called first space name. So the placeholder, the user will see it. That one, I'll type it like this. And then my field is going to be required. So required. Then I can end it with a slash and that. I will copy this. I will paste it under it. But for my students, they will type it because they are better than their teacher. And then I will just change this one to last name. And over here, I'll make it capital L, last name. I'll give you some 2 minutes to type this one, then we'll do the last two for email and password. Does it have to go up again? Whilst typing, please, where the double quote start and finish. You see how I type? I don't type it like I make sure I do a double quote that type it in so that I know where it's starting from where it's ending. Whether I'm open tag, I bring the open tag, then I bring the close tag, then I type it in. I don't type it all before I bring the close tag so that I don't make those mistakes. You make mistakes. No one, everybody makes mistakes. But the spelling mistake, where your tag is open and close, where you should bring the semicolon, those things, don't make them or reduce them. Reduce the number of mistakes you make that have to do with synthetical errors. Are we okay? Online, are we okay?
Yes, we are.
All right. Comfort. Seth. Lucky. Precious. Are we all fine?
Yeah, we're on track.
All right. Another thing to remember is it becomes overwhelming quick when you start to think of the codes like SM code way now. It's more of, oh, I want to do this, else I would use this. If you learn it that way, it becomes easier for you. If you try and learn it by chewing it, it becomes difficult quick. So I want to do an input tag. What will I use? That. Are we okay? Again, when you guys are doing it, try and be watching your screen and be checking out what you're doing. So, for example, on my screen now, I should be seeing something like this. Black Friday deals that the here, and then I can continue. So be checking what you're doing on your screen. Be checking how it looks like. Are we okay? Now, as you can see, what we are doing and what we want to achieve and what we have done so far, they don't look alike at all. It's the CSS who will bring all the beauty out. But for the structure, it's the HTML. Okay, so the next one is for email. So for email I would use the same form window, right? That is ID to div to div. But in this case, the type is going to be what? Email instead of text. Over here, I'm going to have the name email. The ID is going to be email. And the placeholder is going to be email address. The final one is going to be password. So type password, email, password, ID, password, placeholder, password. Of course, after the password, then you have your submit button. I should go up. Yeah, email. Once I'm done with the password button, then you can now design the text. You do an edit. Wow. You forgot to bring the last page. That's what I did. Where will we type our CSS code? In the head. Are we okay? In the head. Can I scroll up? Huh? So I can start typing my CSS code over here. The first CSS code I'm going to type is the body tag. So body, and this is the body tag, right? There's nothing in front, so it's not a class or an ID, just the body. In here, I want my display should be flex. So what would that do to my stuff? To make sure everything is showing one after the other. Are we okay? One after the other. my content should be justified to center. So everything I have will be moved to the middle. Padding should be 3 REMs by 0. 3 REMs, meaning only the top half will be the 3 REMs. All other sections will be 0. If I that means 3 REMs, 0, 0, 0. Are we okay? Mm-hmm. A question someone will ask is that when we were doing the calculator, we used 3 pixels. Why are we using 3 REMs? And what is 3 REMs? Now, 3 REMs or 1 REM means 1 times the root font size. Now, on your browser or in your browser, there is a font size you have chosen for your browser. So whatever your browser is, the font size, we want it to be 3 times that font. So if your browser's font is 8, 3 times 8 will give me the font in which I am using for this application. You understand? That means that no matter what you change your device settings to be, I am covered. Does that make sense? Font family, we want it to be popping. And if poppings is not there, then use sans serif. We want the font size to be 1 REM. We want the color, that is the font color, to be white. And we want the background color to be mm-hmm. 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 Okay, so I was using the font size as an example. In your browser, there is a default size in which your browser chooses to work with. So if me, for example, that my eyes are starting to go, I would like to watch my stuff in, let's say, this, like this. Okay? You, for example, you would like to be watching your stuff like this. Regardless of that, I am saying that whatever the size display is, multiply that size display by 3. So if the person uses a size display, and the size display will affect the font size and all of those things. So we are targeting that size display. So that size display is what we want it to be multiplied by the figure we put there. So if it is 1, it means that you are basically maintaining the size display of the person's screen. If it is 3, it means that whatever size display that person has, increase it by 3 and use that to do the gaps and so on and so forth. Yes. Yes. Online, are we okay?
Yes, sir.
The next thing I want to target is main. I want to set a max width of 350 pixels. I want to set a display of flex for it. I want the flex direction to be column. And I want all items should be aligned center. My window pardon? The main. When we started out, we said that the main tag here is acting the same as a division. But here it is stressing on that this is where the main content is going to be kept. So as you can see, all other content is inside the main. Can you see that? I could easily also change this main and do a div. But it means I have to give it an ID and refer to the ID instead of what? Main. Exactly. Our page should be looking like this. So this is how our page should be looking like now. Are we okay? So we are done with main. We can now go to the intro. And remember, the intro is for the thing that was on the left-hand side, this section here, where we had the H1 and the P tag telling us we are doing Black Friday and so on, right? So intro. Intro in itself is a class. So what we started with? A dot. So we want the intro to display its content in flex form. We want the flex direction of the intro to be column. We want all the items of the intro to be justified center. And then we want all the items to be aligned also in the center. What this will do is it will force it to be in a whole center. Justified is on the horizontal plane, and then align is on the vertical plane. So we are forcing it to be in the middle. If on this plane, on the horizontal plane, you're in the middle, and on the vertical plane, you're in the middle, then you are dead center of what we are looking for. We also want the text items themselves that would be there to be aligned in the center. We want the width of it to be 100% of the window we have. And then we want the margin from the bottom to be 3 REF. Now, in doing these things, our window should appear something like this. Can we see that? So appear like this. Black Friday deals. We have this here. 3 REMs to separate. Remember, everything is showing as a flex, so it's one after the other. We will move it to the side very soon, but it's one after the other, so it appears like this. And note, you see that the styles are different, but one on top of the other, we get the approach we are looking for. With that, I'm going to target the last thing in that section, which is the title. And I want the title to be a bit bigger. So here I have the title. And I want to increase the padding for the title and increase the font size of the title. In doing so, our application will now have the title looking big like this. Is that okay? The sign up width, we also want to make the sign up width 100%. Are we okay? So we're going to type in some code here. We're going to target some few things here. We'll start off by targeting the sign up para. That is the sign up paragraph. The sign up paragraph was a class, so it means it starts with a dot. So sign up para. For those wondering where it is over here. Sign up what? Para, right? And for that, we're going to target some few things. Just so that we can move fast, I would expedite the way I write the things we do. Okay, so here we are targeting its padding, its margin, this border radius, the shadow, and the background, and the text. Are we okay? So these are what we are targeting with the sign up para. Zero dots. Right. Zero space 8. Well, definition of it because not correct. Let me put it this way. So far, what we have done on our what we have done in our application, we have something which looks like this. We have something which looks like this. This is what we have done so far. This is what we want to achieve, right? This and this do not look the same at all. They don't look the same. It depends on the perspective you are looking at this from. If I was looking at this from the perspective of my mobile phone, they look the same. This here looks exactly like this. Are you following me? Are we all here? How it is written here is exactly how it is written what? Here. How this thing looks like is exactly how this thing also looks like over what? Here. If my perspective changed from a mobile phone view to a full screen PC view, then it becomes different. What we are doing now is we are doing the mobile. You write just one line of code to change it for it so that the computer knows that when you're in a mobile phone view, show it like this. But when you're in the online view, show it like what? That. The problem is this. When the person is viewing it from the mobile view, the way he would see it, the writings, would be different from how you see it when you are in the PC view, because the writings would be smaller. For it to be the same, you have to tell the computer to scale it. So there are some things in which you do not need to scale. There are some things in which when the view changes, they need to be scaled based on the view you are looking at. That's why I'm saying perspective. So if you say some of them will use pixels, some of them don't, it's not the correct thing. Some of them use pixels because even if they change, it should be fixed. And if you use the pixel, it's going to be what? Fixed. When you use REM, you are scaling. So if I write one REM, this is one of the display. If I write 3 REM, it is 3 times of the display. So I want to scale it. Does that make sense? The next thing we want to target is our form. We want the form, which is a class, to look like this, to have this piece of code there. Of course, it's a class, so what should be in front? The dot. Let's add this. We are almost there. We are left with a few things to do. We'll be done right now. But remember that in the modern day of building things, you don't know the device the person is going to use. You don't know if the person is going to be using the phone. Heck, half the students in which we have now, when you give them work, they want to use their phone to do it. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know if they don't think that them using their phones means they are killing their own career. Because if everybody moves to the phone, then computer science as a course is over. Anyway, but it is what it is. I've added the one for form input. You want to go have some more? Those online, are we okay?
Yes, we are okay.
EM is different from the RAS. EM is also percentage based. So here we have the definition of it. In cascading style sheets, EM is a unit of measurement which indicates size relative to the size of the food. 1 EM means equal to the current font size. 2 EM means 2 times the current font size, and so on and so forth. Are we okay? And the reason we are doing this is because you don't know the display the person is going to be using. So if the display changes, the font size changes. Hence, the relative font size that should be shown should also change. Have we all gotten to font input? Okay. Then let's add the input tag itself. Here is allow you to see different forms of ways in which CSS elements can be targeted and how they can be targeted. Again, when you are done with each one, because you are learning, you refresh the screen and you see how it will affect it. When you go home, you can change the values and see how the changing of the values affects the application you have. You guys know how to use Photoshop, right? Oh,
Yes, sir.
if one person has said yes, then the class can do. Darling, education, wow. All I need is 1 yes. Thank you, Mr. Yes, thank you. There is one thing we have not done extensively is dealing with images. So one of these classes, we'll have to learn a bit of Photoshop on how to deal with images. That means you guys should install Photoshop on your computers. Won't do anything major, maybe removing some pimples, making the photo big and turning it to black and white, those small. Of course, nowadays, if you do a wedding, the photograph is taking 5,000. So if you know how to take a photograph and change a photograph, 5,000 is in your life. Even right now, our children's birthday party, they are taking 2,000. That is why we use all the money we have on earth to buy an iPhone, and we will not go and hire a photographer. We will take the photograph ourselves. You may kiss the bride there yourself, counteract the photographer's 5,000. You may kiss another which I know you say that one. The photographer will not do anything for you. Sure. You may kiss the bride. No, why you are wedding invite, no alcohol. Logo maker, no I am. Share. We are going to be targeting an element in what we are doing. As in, if the person focuses on a particular button, what should happen? So over here in the screen, those typing, just 1 second. In the screen, if I focus here, you can see that around my text, a gray thing appears. So if I'm here, a gray thing appears. That provides feedback to the person. The person knows that this is what I'm dealing with. So how am I going to target that? I will tell the computer that when you have the input tag, when it is being focused upon, so I'll bring the double quote and bring focused. Again, I can bring the double quote and bring hover. So it means when I'm hovering over it, something else should also happen. But in this case, when I am focused on it, I want the border color to change to this color. That's all I'm doing. So the border color will change to that color. When I'm not there, to revert back to this one, previous color. Are we okay? Nowadays, in the world we are in, where everything is visual, a career in animation is a very lucrative career. A very, very, very lucrative career. Of course, it is very difficult, but it's a very, very lucrative career. CSS in its nature, mastery of it is a very difficult. It's very, very hard, especially knowing HTML is easy, as you can see. It's pretty straightforward. But everything is based on the CSS and the JavaScript. How you can manipulate the web is based on that. So your knowledge in those things have to be great. So there are two things we need to add very quickly. Let's hurry up. We have to go up some. Where are we? Are we still here? So I can go up to here, right? Students online, if you have any question, anything you need, again, let me know, okay?
Okay, for me, my questions will come when I review and try my hands on it again. Then if I get stuck, I'll get back to you.
The computer Okay. So for the button to, when I hover over the button, something should happen. So the same thing goes for the button, whereby when I hover over the submit button, the color should simply just what? Change to this type of green, a lighter shade of green, to show that I am hovering over the button. Now, it is at this stage here that we are going to add a very important piece of code in what we are doing. Let's pay attention to this part. Now, at this point here, I'm going to tell the computer that when the media that you have has a screen size of minimum width of 268 pixels, then apply the following pieces of CSS, which means that this, pardon, 268. Oh, sorry, 268. So this piece of code here will only be applied if the person's screen is not this. That is why you would see this. That is when you see this effect. So when I'm here, big screen, so it's taking effect. The moment I leave the screen, it's not taking effect anymore. And you realize this in a site like this. It's taking effect. The moment I make it bigger, it's taking effect. The moment I become bigger, the screen size gets smaller, those effects go away, becomes more linear. Hence, I can develop an application in which I don't have to be writing the CSS for mobile, CSS for web, CSS for iPhone, CSS for iPhone big, CSS for iPhone small, CSS for Samsung Ultra Plus. No. I can assume that all phones within this range look like this. All phones within that range look like what? That. So here I can tell the computer again that any media that has a minimum width of that, all the CSS codes I'll type here should be applied to it. That is for that one. I want the body to have an alignment of what? Center. So in addition to the ones in which we have here, an alignment of center will be added for that one. So if you watch the code I have here, if I watch this one very well, and then I come and I refresh my page for it, that is this one, right? You can see that I will start having effects changing for it based on the screen size in which I watch have. Exactly. Are we sure? So let's type up this, and then we will continue here. It's not a plenty, it's just like 5 pieces of code we have to type here. So they are also not plenty. We are almost there. Your screen is 100% green. The VH over here is for viewing area. So if I do this 80, that means the minimum height of it should be 80% of the viewing area. That means what I am having should be filled only 80% of the entire viewing area. If I say 100, it means I should fill up 100% of the viewing area. Now, sometimes it is highly frowned upon to let your site, some of the pieces of your site, like by nature, people don't like scrolling. If I open a particular page and I have to scroll, or I'm filling a form and I have to scroll, yawa, I'm not filling that form anymore. So we are telling the computer that, or we are forcing the computer to make sure that everything which the user is doing should be seen within that one page. It should be fixed within that page. Because by nature, you don't want to scroll. If you scroll 1, 2, by the third time you're on a different page and then you are living your life. So for the main, I want to make some changes there too. I want the main to be like this. You know what? Let me put it in, then I'll just send you the code, okay? So for that one, I want to make these changes here. I want to make changes to the width for the height, the padding, and then that. In doing these changes, my application here should start looking like this. The moment the person changes the viewing screen of the area, you would start getting it what? Like this. Which means now we can write an application for mobile view, PC view, doesn't really matter. And you see, we didn't have to write a lot of code. We just said, if you are within this range, then use these tools. So to just use those tools to get what we want. Exactly. Are we sure? Again, these type of codes are front-end codes. Nowadays, with people charging $100 an hour for front-end development, it means the lucrativeness of content development is very lucrative. It's very lucrative. I cannot, well, if I tell you that coding is not lucrative, it's a lie. It is time consuming because you would have to sit down and redo this and practice and all that. But in terms of monetary gain, it's very, very lucrative. And note that with the front-end development, there's no back-end code connecting to database, it's just design. That means that if you are good enough, you can have your $100 an hour for front-end, $100 an hour for back-end, and it means that you have $200 an hour. If you charge the person 24 hours to do the work, that means that it's 24 times $100, and the person will be giving you that amount of money for a day's work. Of course, any logical person will cut the work. So if you think you do the Ghanaian thing whereby the work will be 1 week, so 1 week is $100 for 1 week now. It's capped. The person can't. So it's capped like if you work anything within after 3 days, then you'll be charging this amount. I can't. But Web development, web programming, front-end development, because nowadays most web development has moved into front-end, whereby you develop an application for mobile, web, all of those things, all of them have the same design and so on and so forth. And everything is based on CSS. The CSS will take the design to the next level. I would send you this code, and I will send you the other code too. Now, if I send you the code, they would look like, the code will look like this, right? But you know how to open this. You have to open it in what? VS Code. So if you open it in VS Code, then you see the code there, then you can do whatever you want with it. So that shouldn't be a problem to you anymore. Again, when you can read code now, even if you know nothing, if you see a hash in front, you know that, oh, this is a what? ID. So I should go and look for where the ID is and copy it. And if I apply these things to it, I'll get this what? Effect. Those things should now be easy for you to what? Read. When we come here next week, we will do one more class problem. We will do one more class which involves HTML and CSS. And after that, we will start with JavaScript, whereby now we will see how we can make interactivity or introduce interactivity into the things we do. Then we'll be done with the front end, then we can move to the what? The back end. I know the time is very short, but we are trying to force as many things into the time as possible. So during the week, I'll see if I can send you some videos to watch to bridge the gap. You understand? But we will bridge the gap, don't worry. You must practice to understand that to become difficult. And again, if you have a problem, just take a snapshot of the problem and message, solve it. It's not a big deal. That's okay. Those online, I will end now so that the class comes to an end if there's no questions.
All right, no question. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.